A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Survival of No Limits. Today, we're going to go ahead and talk about some more stuff relating to the kind of scars that I've managed to obtain. And there are, in fact, lots to do with survival. The first one I've talked about was one on my left knee, in which I had some sort of gruesome animal attack pretty much happen. A giant claw mark appeared on my left knee, all because I was out there in the dark, in the wooded area, while I was camping, trying to find a restroom. So, that's just pretty much bad enough. But it got even bigger, way more abundant than it ever possibly could be. My right elbow here happened from a window washing accident in May 2018, and my left wrist here happened in April 2013 after I made contact with a rusty spike on a fence. And now's the time where I go ahead and mention another scar that happened on my left arm right here. But instead, let's go all the way up here and focus directly on this knuckle. And you probably can't see it all too well, but I sure can. But the thing is, it's not necessarily about the way it looks, but also what had happened to it. And let me tell you, this one could have possibly been a bone-crunching incident that could have happened in my lifetime. Because the thing is, June 2015, the time where I just turned 16, was able to drive, but I decided to wait until we could possibly get ourselves a driver's license for free, potentially, or at least get ourselves a test that could be done for free. And so, in 2017, just a couple years later, I was able to do just that. But throughout the written portion of the test, and then eventually throughout the actual road test, it's a pretty long affair, but in the end, I got myself licensed just fine. But that's pretty much enough about that. Because it's about time that I go on ahead and talk about the scar that I obtained on this knuckle right here. June 2015 was a time where I not only turned 16, but I also had a pretty tough time trying to learn to live with foreign accent syndrome. And for the record, that might be a whole different topic, as well as a whole different tangent that I'll probably go on through another 7 episodes of Survival of No Limits, when that time pretty much comes by. But anyways, this knuckle right here ended up getting pretty hurt overnight. For several days, as a matter of fact, I've had to live with some soreness and some pain that almost felt like I actually broke the bone right here. And the main reason for that was actually because we had ourselves a mirror. A mirror that was downright small, downright ugly, and did not necessarily need to be around pretty much. Of course, we eventually got ourselves a whole new mirror. A mirror that was pretty darn big, about my height pretty much, to showcase in the hallway and upstairs. But we pretty much were stuck with an old mirror that was still pretty awful. We would occasionally use it, but I eventually went ahead and decided to help get rid of it pretty much. And the way we were going to do that is we were simply going to have it compacted and put inside our recycling bin. The combination of paper, glass, and plastic pretty much, and providing the borders pretty much. A cheap mirror like this would have to be broken down, but we would have to proceed with caution because the glass on there looked very, very jagged. But I still went on ahead and tried to get the mirror to break down, but unfortunately, for a cheap mirror at least, the glass was so hard to break through. I could barely make any cracks appear on it. As a result, it got pretty difficult. I had to basically punch and kick it many times over and over and over again until finally we went on ahead and got ourselves a crack. I myself felt a bit more confident knowing that I was actually able to break that thing. That sucker needed to get compacted somehow, and the recycling bin was almost right to the very brim of being full. So, I went on ahead, gave my best punch ever, stood back like so, and went ahead and delivered a huge blow that would make Mike Tyson cry. But unfortunately, upon doing so, this sort of impact was devastating. Not only to how the mirror actually was able to pretty much shatter, but it was also a point where my knuckle was cut bleeding, and my bone felt like it was actually broken. So I was just right there, lingering around with a lot of pain and plenty of messes to clean up. Not just from me, but also from how much glass was able to come out of it after it shattered. So, by all means, I'm technically looking at both a good thing and a bad thing. I was pretty much hoping for a little bit more of the good thing though. So, I had to clean myself up, possibly check for any glass shards that could have ended up in my hand, which would have been even worse than just having the glass simply cut me, because then it would have gotten to the inside of my bloodstream and possibly lacerated the inside of my vessels and maybe even my heart. That's almost what I felt like would have actually happened at that point. Because, man, no kidding, that glass was indeed jagged. So, for a cheap mirror, that thing was so hard to break through. But that one devastating blow just really went ahead and did the trick, but it also came at a cost. But I will say that of all scars, this one's probably the least visible. As I've said, you probably can't see it all too well. But to me, really, I will not only be able to see it for a long, long time, but also remember it for a long, long time. Because it was 2015. And like I've said before, this is not the only thing that I have to remember from such a bad year like 2015, but also foreign accident syndrome, or FRAX as I simply call it for short. I will talk more about it later on. Maybe after this whole tangent of 7 episodes of Survival of No Limits is over and I'm done talking about my scars that I've obtained over the years, then maybe I'll have the chance to try and talk about some of these other things relating to my lifetime and what they have to do with Survival of No Limits. But until any of that happens, if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.